Hi everyone, my name is Dr. Joe Davey and I will be your instructor this semester for History 1305 or U.S. History 1877. So this is a very brief, just basically video welcome to the class, a little introduction. And I just wanted to talk, I know there's a lot of confusion out there with the way the semester is rolling out and with the way things have changed really rapidly in the last few weeks. But I just wanted to briefly use this video to introduce myself, talk a little bit about the structure of the course and what to expect moving forward before you access the weekly video lecture in earnest, which will be dealing with the Atlantic world of 1590. So, introductions. As I mentioned, I'm Dr. Joe Davey. I will be your instructor this semester. I have been at UHD. I guess I'm going into my 5th year now. So I moved down here in 2016. I'm originally from Metro Detroit, so I'm a native Michigander. Still getting used to the humidity and the heat down here. But I am a specialist in African history. I finished my bachelor's degree at Michigan State University in 2006 with a degree in history. And then I went to the same institution, Michigan State University, for my PhD in African history as well, specifically West African history. So I'm an Africanist by training. My research looks at social mobility within West African slave systems in the 19th century, sort of looking at the context of how slaves built up within this mercantile economy as the Atlantic trade networks were switching from slave trading to what they call legitimate trading. And particularly I look at the movement of palm oil out of the Niger Delta in southern Nigeria. I've worked at a number of universities in my time outside of UHD and Michigan State. I've been at the University of Illinois in Urbana-Champaign, the School of Oriental and African Studies in London, and then I've also worked through the University of Nigeria in Nsukka in southeastern Nigeria, the Igbo land region there. So I've conducted archival research in the U.S., Europe, and Africa. And I've conducted oral interviews and collected oral evidence in those same places. As an Africanist, most of the evidence that we rely on is going to be based on oral narratives and recollections of people. That just kind of tends to deal with the unequal balance as to who wrote down documentation of African history in the past. Mostly Europeans, and so we tend to have to go to oral evidence to balance out the sort of biases that we're seeing within the European oral narrative about Africa. I'm digressing. It's all stuff you don't care much about. But I will say that my major field is within West African history. My minor or teaching fields are world history, and then African and African American studies, which is why I'm qualified to be teaching this class, U.S. history. So I have an acute emphasis on the African diaspora within the Caribbean, but I also am very, very familiar with the history of people of African descent here in the United States as well. And so to really engage in African American history, you also need to know the narrative history of the United States, which you'll all be receiving this semester. I have, I'm, like I said, a Michigander by blood, and I married into a Houstonian family. My wife's a native Houstonian. She just gave birth to our first child in April. So don't be surprised if at some point during these video lectures or if you pop into like a Zoom meeting with my office hours, from time to time I might have a screaming baby that I'm trying to handle. In addition to her, I have 2 horribly behaved cats that I know at some point are going to get up in front of the camera. It's bound to happen. They have like an instinctive knowledge. They'll come running from across the house when they hear the video camera turn on. So with all that said, that's a little bit about myself and an introduction to who I am. And I do want to keep this video very, very brief. What I'm asking that you do in this video is simply to familiarize yourselves with the course syllabus. That's like a contract between me and you all as students. So it's really important. Everything you need to know, you should be looking to the syllabus first to know it. Every semester, I get emails from students that it becomes abundantly clear that they haven't even looked at the syllabus because what they're asking me is very, very clearly written there in black and white. So really, I strongly encourage you, you want to look through that syllabus, the guidelines for your assignments and papers and tests. A lot of information is going to be found in that syllabus. You'll see all the deadlines and due dates, exam dates, and also our course schedule, how we intend to move through the narrative history of the United States from the first week of class through the 15th of class, 15th week. So definitely want to take a look at that syllabus. You don't have to commit it to memory or anything, but please don't forget that it's there. You should always be checking with the syllabus to see what we're doing in any given week, and also to try and answer any questions right up front you might have about the course material or the assessments. So I do want to point out that this is an asynchronous online class. That's a big fancy way of saying we don't have a set time and meeting date. And what that really means is, as you probably already gleaned from this introduction, I just post videos up, and you can access them at any point throughout the week. I'm not going to be holding Zoom class sessions. There's nothing that you need to be there for at 10:15 on a Tuesday morning. And so it's basically the class works on a weekly basis. I post all the material that you're going to need for the week up, and by Sunday, my expectation is that you have worked through the required material. And so that brings me to a small point about the lectures. I give two different resources when it comes to lectures. One is required and the other one's not. The first resource is a PowerPoint lecture. This is a required resource. Here I'm going to have detailed information going slide by slide through what's being talked about in our textbook chapter, and sort of what the topic for that week is trying to address. And so the PowerPoint lectures are required. They're very detail oriented. They have a lot of information in them. And so that's one type of instruction that I provide in these online classes. And you could simply work through those PowerPoint lectures and through the required readings. And if you feel confident you've grasped the material, the information, then you're good there. That's all you really need to do to address my exams, my papers, and my discussion forums. So, with that being said, I do provide video lectures as well. A lot of students tend to learn better audibly. They don't like reading through the material. But what I will say is that the video lectures are not the same as the PowerPoint lectures. They will never have any new information in them. So that's why they're not required. You don't have to go and look at my video lectures, but you do have to read through the PowerPoint. Now, the reason I do these video lectures is because many students find them to be very helpful in synthesizing what they're reading in the PowerPoint lectures. In other words, I tend to try to keep these videos short. The research that I've seen has all said that people will lose focus very quickly when they see a talking head like this on a screen. And so I try to keep them brief, which means I'm really looking at big picture stuff. What I do in those video lectures is I'm going to be looking to point out the sort of really important patterns of cause and effect, the significance of the events that we're looking at in any given week. And so what I'm trying to do is sort of, in a way, and excuse me for being blunt or crass, I'm trying to cut through a lot of the crap and get right down to this is what's important to take away from this week. And this is what we're looking at this particular topic to try to understand. And so many students do find these video lectures helpful. Again, there's no new information. They're not required, but I strongly encourage you to look through these and see if there's something that might be helpful to you. So the last thing I'm going to say is the syllabus, it goes through all of our assessments in a good amount of detail. It gives you all of our exam dates, and we will have an exam coming up very quickly, and I'll be sending out announcements about this probably beginning in week 2. But we have an exam in week 4, and then another exam without the syllabus in front of me, I'm not sure. But we have 4 exams throughout the semester. All of the dates are listed within the syllabus. And before each one of those exams, I'll post a study guide and put up a review video lecture and a review PowerPoint lecture for those. But there is one last thing I want to address before I wrap this video up, and that is the discussion forums. This is a university level history class, and as such, as you'll find in most institutions around the United States, we do not have homework. And so what you do have, in lieu of homework, you do have a weekly assessment. That's the discussion forums. In these forums, I'm going to be posting up a question every week. I hope to have it up by Thursday at 5 p.m. at the latest. Usually I have it up by Monday at 5 p.m. But you'll be able to access this question all week, and you need to go back and answer that question in a full paragraph prose form, meaning grammatically correct, full sentences with punctuation, no typos. I'm not looking for hastily put together or sloppy responses. This needs to be something that you put a little time into and think out. I don't accept bullet points. I don't accept poorly written responses. And they need to be a full paragraph, which is 4 to 5 related and connected sentences. So in other words, I don't want 5 random statements and then say, hey, I've got a that's not a paragraph. A paragraph has to be something that's all addressing the same subject. So you're going to want to go in and respond to these discussion questions every week. Now, I don't post them up every week because we do have exams from time to time that I'll say, all right, well, I'm not going to post a discussion question. Or we might have something else going on. I don't post one up the first week of class. And so all in all, you're going to have about 12 opportunities to respond to these discussion questions. And you can skip 2 and still get full credit, but you need 10 credited responses in order to get 100% on your discussion forum or the participation part of your grade. And so the grading scale works down from there. 10 credited responses is 100% or full credit. 9 credited responses is 90%. 8 is 80%. 7 is 70%. 6 is 60%. So on and so forth. Now, once you hit 5 responses, you're not going to get any credit at all. If you have 5 or fewer responses, you haven't even done half of what you were asked to do in the syllabus, and in my view, I don't think that is worthy of credit. And so 5 and fewer responses, you will get 0 points for that portion of your grade. Now, one thing I want to warn against, and I'll talk a little bit about it before we do our first discussion forum, I'll send out an announcement to the class, and it will come up again when we look at our paper or the signature assignment. I am a stickler on plagiarism. I do not want to see plagiarism in any facet in your discussion forums, in your responses on the exam, the written responses, in your papers. This is a very serious offense. You're stealing somebody else's intellectual property. And I often find that students, cheating is kind of a straightforward thing. There has to be some sort of intention there for cheating. And the reason that plagiarism is so nefarious is you could absolutely commit plagiarism and not even intend to do it. So I do want to point a few things out about what I mean by plagiarism and adequate citation. So plagiarism is where you take any statement that is not common knowledge from another source and you do not give that source credit. That's what plagiarism is. Now, most students I've found tend to think if I use a quote from a source, then I need a citation. But if I just take information from that source, I don't. And nothing could be further from the truth. In these discussion forum responses, first and foremost, let me make clear, you are not allowed to use quotes of any kind. No quotations. It's too short of a response. I'm only asking you for a paragraph. If you can't give me a paragraph in your own words, you will not get credit. So what I'm asking you to do is to paraphrase your source, which is going to be your course textbook. And so the course textbook is it's going to have a lot of information in it. Any information that you pull out of there that's not common knowledge needs a citation. I will give you an example of how to cite this information in an in-text citation this week. But what's really important to understand is that it doesn't matter whether or not you're taking it word for word. It still needs a citation. Another common form of plagiarism that I've seen is students will copy and paste an entire section of the textbook or one of my lecture slides and paste it into their discussion forum response without quotation marks. That is plagiarism, even if you have a citation. Because basically, if you put a citation at the end of one of my PowerPoint slides and you just copy everything I said there verbatim or word for word, what you're actually saying with that citation is, I got the information from Dr. Davey, but this is my interpretation of it. Here's the problem. That's not your interpretation. You're taking my interpretation word for word. And so paraphrasing is critical. You need to know how to do that. In the syllabus, I've put some helpful links that UHD's Blackboard page has up, that their library has up, that walk you through what is plagiarism, what is not plagiarism, and how to accurately and properly cite your sources. So, again, it is really important that you don't plagiarize there. The offense for the first time is that you will lose credit for the post. A second offense means you will lose credit for all of your discussion forum contributions, meaning a 0 for that part of your course grade. And then finally, if it's a repeated or particularly grievous instance of plagiarism, or if it keeps happening again and again, you can suffer some very severe consequences. You could fail the entire course outright. I am within my rights as an instructor for repeated instances of plagiarism to just hand you a 0 for the course and say you're done. So really, really important that you don't plagiarize. You're better off taking a stab at it yourself and maybe not doing the best job in the world because you weren't prepared or you didn't really know what you were trying to do quite right away. But it is way better than risking the penalties for plagiarism. So the last thing I'm going to say is about our textbook, and then I swear I'm going to wrap this up. Otherwise, I'll be talking for another 30 minutes. So our course textbook is what they call an open access or OpenStax textbook. What that means is that it's an ebook that is 100% free to you all. You don't need anything special. I put a link right there in our syllabus. You click on that link, and it will take you to our course textbook. It's published by Rice University, a very prestigious school and a very prestigious press, and it fits pretty nicely with our course schedule and how I tend to organize the U.S. History Introductory Survey. So you don't need to buy anything. That's why if you're freaking out looking at the library or the bookstore page and you're seeing that there's no materials for this course, that's as it should be. There are no materials that you need to buy. The only required material you need is going to be provided in a link by me. So that's it. I got to stop myself there, otherwise I'm going to keep talking. And the next thing you got to do is just go ahead and access the lectures for week 1. We're going to be talking about the Atlantic world to 1890. So I hope you're all doing well out there. I'm real excited to work with you all this semester. And as usual, if you need anything, and this goes for the whole semester, just reach out to me at Davey, D-A-V-E-Y-J, at uhd.edu. I'm very responsive through direct email. I'm not nearly as responsive through the Blackboard messaging system, so it's always best just to send me a direct email. And I usually try to get back to you as quickly as I possibly can. I don't like to leave you all hanging too long. Well, it was nice to meet you all, whatever that means in the age of COVID-19. Take care and stay tuned for more video lectures and material and announcements and all that good stuff. Bye-bye.